Welcome back. It's just before the end of the second hour. Our big story this time, well, it focuses on the nationwide doctor strike, now dragging into its third week. The federal government insists it has met 19 out of 20 demands presented by the striking doctors, urging them to return to work. But the doctors' union say otherwise, insisting that implementation, not promises, is the real issue. With hospitals overstretched and patients stranded, the back and forth continues while Nigerians bear the brunt of the stalemate.
And of course, to help us unpack the legal, health and ethical dimensions of the strike, we're joined by Gabriel Uduafi, legal practitioner, and Olawale Ogunlana, public health content creator and health awareness champion. Whoop.
Gentlemen, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning.
Mr. Uduafi, and of course, Mr. Ogunlana, Dr. Ogunlana.
Yes.
I didn't know you were a content creator, but let's skip that part. Let's talk about real serious implications here from the doctor's strike. Inside of this conversation, I'm also going to mention cases of the Hippocratic Oath, and I think that's why we have Mr. Gabriel Uduafi joining us here. Let's start. First of all, Dr. Ogunlana, what are these agenda that the doctors seem to be fighting with the government still? We hear that 19 of these have been granted by the government, 19 of the 20. So do give us an idea, please, Doctor.
Okay, so basically, thank you for having me. There are 19 demands. So first of all, there's no 20 demands from the National Association of Resident Doctors. There are just 19 of them. And I would say I took a look at them this morning again, and I realized that about 12 of those demands are basically amendments, policy amendments to how doctors go about their work. So for instance, the first one talks about burnout. Doctors are burned out. Doctors are running shifts of over 100 hours. You and I can work 9 to 5, you go home and then you rest. Doctors are doing that. They are not going on rest for about 120 hours for those who are in surgery. And then for those who are maybe seeing patients, they can do calls for over 100 hours in a single week. And some of them stretch it 3 days going like that, and they are burnt out. And what Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors are saying is, a tired doctor is a dangerous doctor, is an ineffective doctor, is a doctor that would make mistakes. You can't keep working at stretch for 72 hours, getting burnt out.
What amendments are the doctors asking for in this regard?
That, first of all, they need more doctors in the system. Yes, and I did a story recently, a documentary on this, available on YouTube, telling the story about what's going on in the healthcare system. And one of the things that the resident doctors actually shared with me was the fact that it takes a very long time for doctors to be recruited into the system, especially into the training system. And that is something that can be amended. That is, CMDs have to write to the, to the government to ensure, oh, this quota, we need this quota, and that quota might not come in until late September or sometimes even in the new year.
That raises plenty more questions. I don't know if you agree with me, Queen, because if you're saying that you're waiting,
does.
Uduafi, we will be coming to you in just a minute, but I want to address this issue here. If you say doctors, there's a shortage of doctors. The fact is that when these doctors leave schools, most of them don't even get apply to Nigerian hospitals. Well, they might for residency, and then after that, there's the brain drain that we have to worry about. So is that also inside of the demands that the doctors are making?
Yes.
Any reference to the brain drain?
Yes, there is reference to the brain drain in as much as concerns with, for instance, doctors are currently owed certain areas of over 5 years. So there are certain emoluments that are supposed and remunerations that are supposed to be paid to them, and they haven't got that for the past 5 years. Like if I'm to sum it up, between 3 to 5 years, and it's very unfair because these are people who give their life to the system. As a medical doctor, you're expected to show up at work at your best and try as much as possible to give your best to the patient. And it will be expected that the government or their employer, who is their principal employer, will ensure that the welfare of these doctors are met in such a way that they don't have to think about, oh, salaries are being owed or anything. Because a doctor will work more time than anybody else. They will do 9 to 5, and then they will do calls, right? They will have call shifts. They will be there. They will always have to show up. They always have to be there. And yes, there is the Hippocratic Oath, and I always like to say the part of the, the reviewed Hippocratic Oath mentions that a doctor has to focus on his own well-being, because now there is an understanding that a doctor who is tired and exhausted cannot give the best care to their patient. That is why most times people go to the hospitals, they complain about the doctors not being kind to them.
It's because
I'm not making an excuse for bad behavior of certain doctors. Yes, there are some of them like that, but you could see them burnt out. They are fatigued. And many of these doctors that are giving care really need that care. They really need somebody to ask them, how are you doing, sir? Are you okay? How are you doing, ma? You look tired. Are you okay? Because many a times you will see that they are burnt out, they are fatigued, and they are exhausted.
Right. So before we come back, because this conversation is spiraling to different corners, my hand is already poking.
I've got more questions than...
But Mr. Uduafi, let's talk about the legal standpoint. He mentioned that there were 19 demands, but the government says it has met 19 of 20. What does this actually mean in a labor dispute term, Mr. Uduafi?
Well, what I know is that the National Association of Resident Doctors have 19 demands, and some of those demands relate to recall of some sacked workers, I think in one teaching hospital in Lokoja. When you lay off a worker and a union is calling for a recall, there would have to be a review process of the employment that has been terminated. So that in itself is not what you can just do by the click of the finger and get it done. Because the engagement between a worker and an employer is that of a contract. If a contract is terminated, restating the contract would also pass through some processes. I'm not here holding brief for anybody. Then there are also the cases of end arrears of allowances, which they are asking for. Then the issue of filling spaces that have been left for by doctors who have also moved abroad. And like the example my friend gave in the studio, okay, a vacancy exists. I want to fill that vacancy. How easy is the manpower market that you can easily tap to fill a vacancy that is created? I give an example even for myself as a legal practitioner. And I have a vacancy that requires a minimum of 15 years professional experience. Of course, I can't go and recruit a lawyer who's just done 5 years, because there is a reason why I need that 50-year experienced professional to fill that vacancy. Even in appointment for lawyers, before you can be a judge, you have to be 10 years post-call. Before you can be made a senior advocate, you have to be 10 years post-call. No matter the shortage of judges in this country, it would never happen that you get a lawyer that is less than 10 years into the judiciary. The law would not permit it. The system would crumble for it. So we agree that there is brain drain in this country. Lawyers, professionals, not just doctors right now. There is a movement, a massive movement of professionals out of the shores of this country. And I have a lot of my friends and colleagues that have done so. Yeah. So these issues are structural issues. They also require care and skill for some of the demands to be made. They are not demands that you can make by the click of the finger. Before you can become a consultant, it takes a process of training. Before you can become a professor, it takes a process of training. If a professor vacates his seat, you cannot just bring in any lecturer to fill the vacant position of a professor. So I think the Resident Doctors Association would have to take a broader look and know those demands that can be attended to immediately, while those that will take time to mature would have to be considered and separated. Otherwise, lumping them together will be a problem for any serious employer and organization.
And that there, what you've just said, is going to form the basis of what we'll discuss further from here when it regards to you. But did I hear you say that some of your friends have also fallen victim, or actually have also been advantaged by the brain drain? My question to you is, why haven't you joined them? Why are you still here, Mr. Uduafi? But let's talk about the...
Yes, it's always an interesting discourse for me.
Yeah, I can tell.
There is no way I don't travel out of the shores of this country. And I find my fulfillment in this country than anywhere else. I have friends and colleagues that I have, my younger ones that also said they want to live out of the shores of the country. They are there. They are happy where they are. I'm super excited about where I am in Nigeria.
So, Uduafi, let's talk about that excitement. I want to talk about that excitement for you as a lawyer. Let's relate it to the Hippocratic Oath by the doctors. Doctors are very passionate about saving lives or even bringing forth life. However, we find that in this case here, they have, they've reneged on that. I'm using this, rather not too deliberately, but they've reneged on that Hippocratic Oath, and I'm wondering where the law lies here. If they can say, if we don't get these demands, we will not go to work. Because the people who are suffering are the patients, the people who need healthcare. People are dying on a daily because of the absence of the doctors. So when it comes to labor law and doctors and the Hippocratic Oath, what's your take on this?
It's a very tough question that we would all have to be sincere about in talking about it. I'm sure you also engage the medical services in this country. I have a reason to visit hospitals. I have a lot of, my cousin is a consultant in one of the teaching hospitals in Oyo State. I have very close friends that are also consultants. I have a very close friend that is a orthopedic surgeon and a consultant. The wife is also orthopedic, so is a consultant, but now outside the shores of the country. There is also, relating it to labor, apart from the Hippocratic Oath, I'm also looking at it from the standpoint of the law. The law designates medical services as essential services, just as it designates military services, security services, electricity services as essential services. And that is the Trade Union Essential Services Act. These have been designated as essential services. And for essential services, there is a limitation as to how you invoke your right to strike. There is also this argument that is wrong in my view that a lot of people make, relying on section, is it 30 for the right to strike? There is no right to strike in our constitution, but there is a freedom of association in our constitution. You can join an association. Even under the constitution, as a medical doctor, you can also choose not to join the Association of Medical Doctors. There are lawyers who do not belong to the MBA, and you cannot drag them, you cannot crucify them for it. Because if their purpose is not served by that association, then they will not join by whatever means. It's the same right that adheres to the freedom of religion. There are those who do not believe in any religion in this country and in the world. Even if the constitution says that you have the right to freedom of religion, there are those who are apolitical. It's the same right that adheres to unionism, that adheres to political parties, but you cannot compel anybody to join a political party. I think the situation we have in the country is that a lot of people take the law and they try to stretch it beyond its limit to their benefit. The Hippocratic Oath is a very serious oath.
Do you think that's what the doctors are doing here? Do you think that's what they're doing now? Stretching it beyond its limit?
They are stretching, yes, they are stretching the law beyond.
Okay then, Mr. Uduafi, let's hear from the doctor in the studio here now. So, doctor, are you stretching the limits of the law here when it comes to the oath you're taking? And I'm talking generally now, not just you, I mean generally doctors who are going through this mess that we find the authorities and the doctors in.
Okay, so what I would say is that a lot of people have, especially, leadership, have taken or used the Hippocratic Oath as an excuse to perpetrate all manner of injustice in the healthcare system, right? Some, part of the Hippocratic Oath talks about taking care of a patient to the best of your ability. What is the definition of the best of your ability in 2025? You don't have gloves in the hospital. There are no essential medications. Doctors still have to use their own money to pay for patients their drugs, their medication, their tests, and all manner of things like that. Doctors are exhausted in the sense that they can't even take care of their own self, because part of the Hippocratic Oath also says that I will be of sound mind. Like, it talks about you being in a state of sound, being sound enough to take care of a patient. A tired doctor, like I always say, is an exhausted doctor. You cannot expect that a doctor, because of the fact that he has taken an oath, he will not rest, he would not sleep, he would be derived of growth or career fulfillment. It is absolutely unfair and unjust. So I see that a lot of people, they are always very fast to jump on the oath. The oath talks about the commitment of a Nigerian doctor, or the commitment of a medical professional to the patient, and being able to take care of that patient to the best of their ability. If you go to other countries, in fact, you don't even need to go to developed countries of the world. You need to go to other countries, like, for instance, in Ghana or other West African countries, and see what's going on there. Now, for instance, a resident doctor, right, writes certain exams, and is expected, definitely when you pass your exams, you're already recognized as a specialist. In Nigeria, you are not being recognized as a specialist. You are lower than that. They don't give you the specialist certificate yet until you have become a consultant. Whereas that same exam, if you write it somewhere else in a West African country, in Ghana or somewhere else, you would already be recognized as a specialist. Now, the question that we keep asking ourselves is that, why is the leadership of the country treating its doctors this way? Why is there a deliberate intention to frustrate doctors who have chosen to stay? Because yes, it's not every single doctor in Nigeria that wants to go. I was in Europe. I came back home to practice.
Welcome.
Right? And to the best of my knowledge, I've been happy being here. But then we still have to talk about these things. We still have to ensure that the Nigerian patient is the major beneficiary of this. And Nigerian doctors aren't striking because of themselves, It is because the Nigerian patient is the ultimate beneficiary of the gains that are coming from this. Because, for instance, when a doctor has slept well, he has rested well, he will take care of his patients well. There is no question about it. He will definitely pay attention to you won't miss details. Have you noticed that whenever you don't sleep, you forget things?
True.
Now, the same, imagine that a doctor hasn't slept for 100 hours. Why wouldn't they forget something inside surgery or forget something in someone's abdomen? These are the things that happen. In other countries, this is abominable. Whatever it is that the government is currently doing to its doctors is abominable. It should not even happen. It should not even be done anywhere else. So the conversation isn't about the Hippocratic Oath. Doctors are always willing. And I would say that of all the industries that we currently have, Nigerian doctors are one of they take a lot of time before they go on strike. In fact, the reason why they are going on strike this time around definitively is because of the fact that these things have gone unanswered for several years. Arrears of over 2 years has not been paid. Imagine a doctor working 24 hours and up until now he's still being owed things of arrears of 2 years thereabout. So these are the issues. Until let me even finish with it. There is a national, if I was reviewing this before coming on set, there is a national health policy document that, to combat health workforce migration that was created by the Federal Ministry of Health. People should go read and see what the Federal Ministry of Health has proposed for the health workforce and juxtapose it with what is currently existing.
Again, gloomy week. Hope. Olawale, you've talked about literally almost everything in the sense that we're losing our doctors.
I see you looking for that glimmer of hope.
I'm looking for it.
You're really searching for it, because at the end of the day, the ultimate sacrifice is paid by the patient.
Yes.
Not just the patient alone, but those who lose their lives. And while I understand, the position of the doctors and how this is, I'm wondering, does it have to be a strike? Couldn't it be through dialogue? Can't some of the items on the list of demands, be stricken off? For instance, why do people have to lose their lives for a reinstatement of doctors in one or two institutions, for instance.
Okay.
If you can take these bits out of that 19, maybe we'll have 18, and maybe it's easier for the government to actually attend to.
Like I mentioned.
I'm sorry, I know you had a question. I jumped in there with mine.
Yes, like I mentioned, I read this 19, I read them.
And 12 of them are policies.
And I can tell you that 12 of them are policies that if the government signs them today, the doctors will return back to work. And it is not about, many times the government will say that we would do it. We are going to do it. In fact, the reason why this strike happened is because conversations have been exhausted. Several times, in fact, the NAT president, Dr. Mohammed Suleiman, mentioned the fact that sometimes you go to the offices to meet with them, to converse with them. They don't even want to have time for you. You are not their problem yet. So it is basically this is a last. This is like a last straw that broke the camel's back.
It's a last straw and it's been breaking camel's back for 10 years.
Yes,
the problem.
And that also shows what is the commitment of the government to its doctors. That is kind of like, it shows, it is a reflection. This is like a pass mark to see do we take healthcare seriously? And let's bring it to reality. Have you noticed that Nigerian politicians don't go to Nigerian hospitals? Have you ever asked yourself why that is? The reason why that isn't just for the reasons of, we don't have the best doctors. Nigeria, I can tell you, has some of the best doctors in the world right here in Nigeria and outside Nigeria.
I agree.
But they would prefer to go to those other systems where those countries have made effort to build systems that work. And they leave Nigerians, the average Nigerian like you and me, to battle with hospital systems that don't have lights, hospital systems that the doctors are being owed arrears and nurses are being frustrated and healthcare workers are not being compensated enough for the work that they do, where healthcare workers are exhausted from work. It is absolutely unfair. So I think the time for us to have that honest conversation, because all what we are saying is that let's have a honest conversation about healthcare and bring it down to the reality of the Nigerian patient so that they can benefit. I can tell you that there are the reason why we are having doctors right here in Nigeria that are still practicing, that are still seeking the resident pathway, is because there is some hope that someday it is going to be better for them. I'll end with this, for now. When I came in 2014 and I started as a house officer, I was earning a net salary of about 172,000 naira, which was equivalent to about $1,100 at the time. Now, doctors who are doing their house officer, those that are interns, like in that same position, currently earn an equivalent of $150 if you are going to bring it. So imagine that the purchasing power of a medical doctor has dropped by over 1,000%. So what a doctor could afford, what he could do
4 years ago,
10 years ago, 12 years ago, he can't even try or dream of it right now. And yet the workload is increasing. Doctors are leaving, people are tired, and the system is not getting better.
Well, I still have that question for you, but now with all that you've said, I need to ask Mr. Uduafi. Mr. Uduafi, are there any legal policy that that is in place that states that if an issue has been going on for so long, it needs to be resolved? And if there isn't any, don't you think we should create one if we keep having this recurring issue in our health system where we're losing doctors to other countries and then end up having citizens to suffer because they don't have enough doctors, and then the ones that have are burnt out? Mr. Uduafi.
Honestly, there is a Trade Dispute Act that creates the Industrial Arbitration Panel. In this country, workers' union, more often than not, ignore completely that industrial arbitration panel in the resolution of industrial disputes. The unions know, and that they never exploit that because government is always very easy to go at. He has raised, my friend has raised several issues. First off, let me deal with the issue of entry-level compensation. For every profession in this world, entry-level compensation is never sufficient. Never sufficient. A professional grows to reap the fruit of his training long after he has gotten to a certain stage in his profession. Same way in corporate organization. Entry-level requirement is never the in thing. You strive to grow to get to the management or directorate level before you can start earning big. We must know there's a period of gestation for everything. So the issue of the entry-level demand, I think the doctors have to think about it very properly. Because don't also forget the fact that there are other professionals who are under the employment of the government, both federal, state, and local. So they might want to take a cue from what the doctors are doing. And correct me if I'm wrong, doctor, it's only the medical profession in the public service that has two different salary scales, the commerce and the cohers, which was put in place to assuage the yearnings and demands of the doctors way back in 1976. Lawyers don't have it. Accountants don't have it. Engineers don't have it. Having said that, I said this because I have sisters, brothers, cousins, friends who are doctors. And I say this without prejudice to their feelings and their rights. Now, we have, if you are talking of, I have seen doctors that are burnt out because I attend hospitals. Because I'm a lawyer, I pay attention to what is not said more than what is said. And I engage them. Doc, you are tired. He would want to be hesitant. And I will tell you why. The number of private health institutions in this country is growing by the day. Serviced by the doctors in the Nigeria public health system. Let's face the truth. I agree that doctors are burning out. But there are doctors who have several calls with different private health institutions. So when you combine that, it adds to your number of hours. Because the doctor wants to earn more, because he's professionally capable to do so. So if you are blaming the burnout of doctors on government, I would say with respect from where I sit and from my personal experience, because I've had to go to public health institution and I will be told that the doctor that will attend to me is not available. I have lost people because the doctors that would have attended to them, they were in private health institutions doing their private call.
Mr. Uduafi, just a second. I want to address...
Excuse me, sir. Let me bet it. Let me bet it. This is nation building. I've spent over 2 decades as a lawyer. I'm committed to see Nigerian work in every facet of it, not just a section of it. My father died because in 1995 I lost my father. And I know the reasons why I lost my father. Then the health institutions were a bit better when the number of private institutions were not this much. You could see a doctor and discuss with the doctor easily. We have gone to a stage that profit drives a lot of the things that we do. And we must start addressing ourselves from that standpoint as humans who are committed to making the society work. You talk about Ghana. I have been to Ghana. I have been to a lot of African countries. The difference between us and those countries is attitude, human attitude, not essentially the norms and the laws that are different. So we must have a human attitude to what we do. Government should do more. Yes, I agree. Even me, I sit here as a private legal practitioner. If government gives me money, rightfully so, for a legal purpose, I will take it. But is that should just be an aspect of my contribution to nation building.
All right.
I want government to pay arrears of allowances.
Okay, Mr. Uduafi. Mr. Uduafi, I couldn't help but notice that right here in the studio there's this sense of indignance that Wale has about some of the comments that you have made, and I'd like him to please express himself. So, Dr. Ogunlana, if you don't
mind. So
before it comes in, sir, the only way we can have a society work is for us to have an open conversation. Open conversation. Yeah. I don't hate doctors. I like doctors. They're my friends.
We all like doctors.
And I'm glad that you mentioned, I'm actually quite glad that you mentioned that you are not a doctor. And I would say this, because you are observing from outside. The first question we must ask ourselves is that why are doctors working elsewhere? So right now, based on the stats, Nigeria has just basically roughly 40,000 hospitals or private hospitals, if we are to put it like that, if we are to get a round number, 40,000 to service a a population of 200 million people.
Let me do the calculation.
It is not even enough. It is not even enough, right? So that is even the first question. That's even the first problem. The problem is that we do not have enough doctors, whether the ones that are currently in training, that are in medical schools, whether the ones that are currently residents. He was talking about, a resident entry pay. I am talking about a specialist in training. He has already gone through medical school. He has done his internship. He has done NYSC. He has done specialist. He's now in specialist, becoming a consultant. And these people can barely earn a living wage that justifies. Imagine a doctor spending almost 140 hours in a week working, and yet you can't pay the bills of your family, you can't pay the bills of people. What happens then? You have to look and ask yourself, what other creative ways can I sustain my family?
And I was told even to get certificates are really expensive.
Yes, and you have to read, you have to buy books, you have to write exams, and all of these things cost money, right? When we talk about the fact that doctors are not well taken care of, it is not a matter of there are two salary structures for what exactly is the salary structure. And for instance, now let's talk about the CONMES that I was talking about. These resident doctors were downgraded on CONMES. They were downgraded from from the entry level, which was a step 3, down to a step 2. They were taken down. Why? The question we now ask ourselves is that why is a downgrade? Because once a downgrading happens, it means that your pay goes down as well. Why is that happening? Knowing fully well that these doctors are doing more work, are tired and are exhausted. Everything that he mentioned is the result of a broken system. It is not the doctors that are causing this, right? It is the system that is allowing doctors to adapt. A doctor will look at himself and say that, what have I achieved in the last 5 years? There are doctors right now who have sold their properties, sold like real properties, because they cannot afford to take care of some of their responsibilities anymore. And we are asking the government, make sure you are the greatest player in this, to regulate it, to have it, or to give a show of faith that we are with you in this. And the government is saying nothing. They are rather saying that, they are being militants about it. The fact is, unlike him, right? He does 9 to 5. You go home. A doctor doesn't do that. A doctor will do that and will still have to perform a shift. Now, there are doctors, there are needs when it comes to healthcare professionals, not just in the public system, in the private system as well. But because we do not have enough of those doctors, right? We don't have enough to service every hospital. I have hospitals in this country, right? And I run them. And I understand that these doctors cannot just be in one place. They are always needed somewhere else. Nigeria, for instance, he mentioned the fact that, they are going to other private settings. Nigeria currently has less than 50 neurosurgeons in Nigeria.
50.
Less than 50.
Let's talk about the availability of these doctors and the fact that there's also one of the demands inside of these 12-point demands regarding locum doctors, emergency staff, and also IPPIS migration.
Yes.
Does that fall in?
Yes, and this was part of the issues that the Nigerian resident doctors raised. Stop casualizing doctors. Do not casualize us. Let them have proper contracts. Let them come in. Let them have a growth scale. Let there be some career path of growth for them. These are part of the conversation.
Doctors don't have proper career paths?
Some of them, especially some that might be locums, right? They are just recognized as contract staff.
These are temporary.
Yes, so temporary, right? So they are casualized, if you are to put it like that. These people are casualized. So like what we are trying to say here is that the first person to show faith in the healthcare system should be the government. They have to come in and tell us that we are ready for you. We understand that you're the front runners of the healthcare system, and we need you to make sure that you are able to do your work well, and you are psychologically, financially, mentally, physically supported to go about your work. That is exactly the conversations that we are talking. He was talking about having an open conversation. This is the open conversation that we need to have. Nigeria has roughly about 3,000 consultants, specialists, for the whole country, or maybe should I say 5,000. There are currently There are currently 8,000 or 8,500 resident doctors across the country. How many of them for a population of 200 million people? Tell me, why wouldn't they be needed in private hospital settings? So this is not a result. He makes it look as if the doctor is just going out there. They are needed out there.
Okay. Oh, we've run out of time.
Yeah.
Mr. Uduafi, real quick. Most of your comments or expressions have been to the doctors. What advice, what suggestion would you have for the authorities, the Nigerian government, as they have been in this battle, locked horns for so many years now?
Yeah, I have said, let you not seem as if I'm not a government spokesperson. I don't want.
We are aware.
Please, I want him to understand. I'm not a government spokesperson. If the system works, I'm the beneficiary, right? And because I'm hurt by the system, I know that it's not a one-way fought thing. It's from here to here. So what I would advise government to do is like I'm also telling the doctors, let's have an open conversation. If you are making a demand, you know the ones that is immediately realizable. Let's isolate. You see, a lot of people can help doctors to agitate if all of these demands are not lumped together. 19 demands, there is no way any organization in the world will satisfy 19 demands with a one bullet shot. So let's isolate them and categorize them. In law, that is what we'll do. The one for the immediate, the one for the medium, and the one for the long term. If we know those demands, then we can put pressure. But for the end allowances, my brother and my Dr. Fred, who is now a content creator. I'm a legal practitioner. I don't create content. I don't create content. I provide solutions to live issues. Doctors' issues, patient issues, they are live issues. We cannot theorize about them. We can only offer practical solutions. Let doctors be paid their end allowances, period. Then for the 5 doctors that were relieved of their duty in Lokoja, we can sit down and say, okay, when we sort out our end allowances, let us now deal with those doctors that were terminated. The law is that if you are an employee that enjoys statutory flavor, and doctors that work for government are employment with statutory flavor, even if you are not reinstated today, the day that you are reinstated, you paid your allowances back end. So it would seem as if you never left work. So the law is standing there in your protection. So we can deal with that. Then for investment in the health sector, we have said it. There is no way government funding can deal with the issues in the health sector. We will certainly need private sector investment in the health services sector. For medical education, that means that we have to, the Doctors Association and the government have to sit down and design a deliberate policy that would make health education a lot more accessible for the teeming number of Nigerians who want to be health workers, like doctors and nurses. That is a long term, on the long term, not the immediate. So you cannot, that's why I say we can segmentize them and deal with them as they come. I know that for medical schools in all universities, they take less students. Here, public admin will take 1,000 in one school admission. Medical sciences will only take 10 or 5, depending on the capacity of the medical department in that institution. Right. In fact, there are universities that don't even have medical services faculties. My friend knows.
Well, Mr. Gabriel, if we stay here, we will not finish this conversation.
Both of you are just a bit too passionate about this subject, and we understand.
Yes, thank you. We can tell that you have a lot of hope from your point of view, and we appreciate that. We thank you for joining us to have this discussion for Nigerians to see what's going on and how this issue is developing. So we appreciate you for joining, Mr. Gabriel Uduafi, and of course, Olawale, thank you so much, Dr. Olawale, and content creator.
Yes.
We appreciate you coming and shedding more light. This is something that we need to know because, the health sector is like our eye.
Yes, it is.
If we're not seeing, I don't know how we're going to move forward, but yeah.
Exactly.